Alright, Zudoragi here, back for... Hang on a moment. Back for part 2 of my review of the 1/60th scale perfect grade 00 riser. In this part I'm going to be covering the O riser, as I'm sure you can see, as well as the various accessories that are either exclusive to it or are primarily for it, as well as some of the accessories that the two share. So to start things off, I'll do my size comparison as usual. A soda can. Not exactly the perfect comparison in this instance, since the O riser is longer than it is tall, but it gives you a rough idea of the size. Naturally, the color scheme is virtually identical to the 00 Gundam. Mostly white, with a little bit of blue, black, dark gray, none of those translucent blue pieces, an addition of a translucent orange piece, and numerous stickers as per usual on this model, seemingly. As for posability, it's not extensive. It's there, but it's not extensive. The binders can't really move at all. However, these little wing pieces can move up and down, and these tips can move up and down as well. It can give you some pretty interesting poses. Or not poses, but just some shapes. This section, this big loose section, you can pull it out. Exposes a little bit of detail, some mini missile launchers, and it causes this gray chunk on the bottom to flip out, which is pretty neat. This tail section back here can move up and down a little bit, usually when you don't want it to. These little flaps here can move up and down, but that's not really for now, more for later. This panel here can open up, and you see the little docking laser it uses in the show to combine with 00 Gundam. And then inside, this panel opens up with a little figurine of Saji inside. This cockpit is actually significantly roomier than the one in the 00 Gundam. It was a little surprising to me. And then of course you have the landing skids in the bottom. Just these little pieces, and they can just fold away just easily like that, and then getting them back out is pretty simple too. I'm not sure if you saw it, but there are these little tabs right here that you can just use to help flick them out, and they just come out like that. Before I move on, I want to mention one thing I forgot in terms of the posability. These white pieces here can move back and forth, and if you pull this middle tab right here, it'll flare out the tail. Although at least as far as I'm aware, that's only really for the combination. This guy does have accessories for just himself, and he has numerous accessories. Start things off simple. The daggers, or weird shoulder blade things from the 00 Gundam, can actually go on this guy. If you take the tabs that the 00 Gundam used to hold them, and I just like to get them sorted kind of like that, you can take the tabs and put them in these large slots on the sides of the binders. Oh, there it is. And actually give the O riser sort of melee weapons almost. Looks kind of ridiculous, and generally I only put these on for the 00 riser mode, so just go ahead and take these off. Next accessory that he has, and this is purely for him, and I usually only use them when they're in separate modes, or when they're separated, are these huge missile pods, which take up a... whoop! Fingers are slippery today. Take up a fair amount of the ship's length. As you can see, there are these two tabs here on the bottom, which will just go into the slots here on the sides of the binders. Yep, everything's falling all over the place. And give him very big weapons. He also has these smaller missile canisters. At least I think that's what they are. They never appeared in the show, so I don't know exactly what they are. I just kind of assume they're little missile launchers. They're fairly detailed for the size. Of course, it's a perfect grade, so I would expect everything to be. And there is, of course, mechanical detail on the inside, which is neat. It's rather difficult to get them on him when when it's like this, because of the fact that, as you can see, these little wing parts are sitting flat. And they go on the underside, which usually means that the wings have to be folded up. But try and give you an example of what I'm talking about. This tab goes into a slot that's right here. Just put it in, and then the wing folds up against it like that. Same thing on this side. And now, as you can see, the landing skids don't touch the ground. Oop. It's actually now sitting on its wings rather than the landing skids. It also has similar, more classically shaped missiles that go on the underside of the top wing segments. Just open them up and tab into slot like before. I'm going to go ahead and fold up the landing skids because they're not in use at this point anyway. There he is with those missiles already. Next, he has all of these missiles. Based on my understanding of aircraft weapons, I'm going to assume that these are sidewinders or something similar. They're sort of like miniature versions of those larger missiles, and of course they come in twos on these little support sections. They just have these tabs go into the slots here. Just put one there. One there. Ones on the bottom get a little bit tricky because then... okay then. Because then it'll actually be balancing on these missiles, not its wings. Which, as you can imagine, isn't the best thing for it. Let's just go ahead and get them in first. And now this is actually something I'd like to talk about that goes for every single one of these sets of missiles. these connectors, these ones, are awful. They barely hold on at all. I mean, I've had to glue most of these on just because they keep coming off. But there you can see him barely balanced on them, and some of them just came off, it seems. I got severely bent up, but one option I do in this case is I will sometimes get the wings flat like that, so he sort of balances like that, but again, that doesn't look the best. Now he has one, technically two more accessories. The first of which is this piece. It has two tabs here and a larger tab here that go into... Come on, stay together. This slot here and these slots here. Now, I'm actually not going to put that on just yet because it actually goes with a different accessory that is, again, for both modes, but is primarily for the 00 riser mode. The obnoxiously large GN sword, which, again, for some reason, the clear green is showing up as a bluish green, even though I assure you it is a very vibrant green. And one thing that maybe someone down in the comments can tell me how to fix, the blade on mine is bent, and as a result, these white pieces, which are two pieces that meet here, don't hold together worth crap. Now, in case you may have guessed, this can store on the O-Riser itself. There's this piece here that you have to pull up. It sits like that, and then this slides on it, and this little bar goes into that slot there. And then it just attaches to the bottom of the O-Riser on those slots I mentioned. And there is the O-Riser with the big GN sword equipped. And one interesting thing is that there is actually a landing skid on the GN sword. This little panel here just comes out. And it actually balances quite well. I mean, I'm shaking my desk, and as you can see, it is quite well balanced. Of course, if one of these missile pods fell off, it would fall over in the opposite direction. But this, as you can see, is the O-Riser completely armed up, and unlike the O-Riser in the show, it looks like it could really break some stuff. And it doesn't even have the beam cannons and the mini missile launchers ready, but still, it looks like it could already break some stuff. Okay, this part is already exceeding 13 minutes and coming close to 14 or 15, so I'm going to cut this part here, and part 3 will be about the combination into the 00 riser and all the various accessories that can fit onto it. So I will see you in the third and seemingly final part of my review of the 1/60th scale perfect grade 00 riser. See ya.